Okay, well, I don't know who else is showing up tonight, but I'm just going to begin so that we don't run over too long. I've never done this particular one, the toning and activations together, so I really don't know how long it'll exactly take. And, sometimes just getting into the groove and all, just making room to just move accordingly. So, um, I've got us on record, so I had my little sticky reminding me not to forget. And I think that I will share with you a little bit about myself first so that you can understand where I'm coming from. So, when I was young, at 5 years old, that's the first time I remember channeling and working with guides. And we would have conversations. And channeling is much like that today that I do. It's just a conversation with whomever that is the guidance system that comes in. But I remember this at 5 years old. And I was alerted to uh, that I had some important things to do in my world and that I was to be here for that. So, because I remember at 5, I really didn't want to be here. I thought it was a tough world, even at 5. And so, asking if I could go home. And I guess I must have known what that was in some part of me. So, and then when I grew up, I was married. I had 4 children, had a girl and then 3 boys following. And we moved to New York State and we built a house, and the house was on native burial ground. And so it was like what I call a double whammy, and or a rude awakening, actually, is how I refer. It's it made us sick, made us all sick. And I lost a lot of my memory at that time. And I wouldn't say I've regained all of my memory completely, even to this day, but I deal with it. I know how to work around it and that, and I use a lot of sticky notes to help me. But with the burial ground, there were spirits there. And so what happened was I bilocated to another location, and bilocation means simultaneously you are in two places at once and you are aware of it. So we all are, our souls are split in different places, but I was super aware that I was here and there at the same time. And I was asked to release the souls that had been lost on this land through a war party who had come, and this was several hundred years prior, I guess, and where they had killed many of these folks, these native people that were living there. And so what happened was when I leaned up against this tree, I absorbed all this energy into me. And I felt like I was at a funeral mourning for several hundred people. And what was really weird about it is that I felt like I didn't even know these people. So it was a very strange experience for me. But that opened up a lot of my uh, uh, abilities, or it began to open my abilities. And so simultaneously being sick and then this whole initiation into my pathway, this was my destiny. And it opened up my dharma, my capabilities. So I've come to understand myself to be a receptor, a communicator, and a translator of energy, which means through all of my senses, I perceive energy and I can communicate with it. So like this, I can put my hands on something and tell you what the energy is expressing. And so then I am a medium. I work in soul regression. I am a homeopathic practitioner. I've been in my work for 30 years now. I'm a medical intuit. I speak light language, which is a coding that comes in through the light and through language. I work in the quantum field with DNA coding, and I do biofield scanning. Um, Something that most people really don't know, and I don't even tell when I'm talking to folks, is that I've worked with several departments with detectives in the police force, and I've helped them open up cold cases and find whoever is a part of that cold case. And one particular, in these last, maybe 5 years now, I was up on, let's see, one of the people that I worked with is a co-partner on Blind Frog Ranch, and connected to and partnered with Dwayne Ollinger, who is the owner of Blind Frog, which is up in Utah next to Skinwalker Ranch. And most people have heard of Skinwalker Ranch. It's a very high frequency for extraterrestrial activity, paranormal activity. And I think they have on Discovery Channel, a program on there. So you might want to check that out. Anyway, Charlie is his name, and he is a detective. And one of the people that the case had gone cold, and the spirit came to me, and she had asked me, please don't let this go away unsolved. And so I could image where she was, and I relayed this information to him. And sure enough, probably within about 6 weeks after, they had opened up the case and found her body. And so the family could at least put to rest what had occurred. So I always find that's really fascinating too. It's not something I talk about too much, but and then I work with interdimensionals, let's see, Egyptian deities. I work with the Arcturian commander on the Starfleet, a galactic Starfleet. His name is Commander Ashtar. I work with the emissaries of light, and more specifically, a specific consciousness that's named itself Megalithicon. And Mega, for short, I call it, has been with me for some years, and it is my go-to for many questions. When I don't know something, I go and ask, and I get some kind of an answer. Sometimes not always exactly the answer you want, but good enough. It sets me on my path. And more of recent, in this last time, I work with the power of 12, which is an angelic realm. So, and then ancestors, people's ancestors, ancestors, tribal ancestors, and such. I've written a book. Oh no, not another learning experience, a metamorphosis. And also, I've put together a compilation of meditations and an activity book for children, tweens, and teens. And it's called The Gateway of Discoveries, Activate the Real You. I am almost finished with it and hoping to get that out real soon. I've worked with several doctors in their practice around the nation, and I work with them energetically. I take people to sacred places on retreats, and we have been to Mexico and Peru and Hawaii and Mount Shasta. This past summer, we were in Glastonbury. In fact, one of the people that are on with us was where I met him, and it was such a delightful time there. Glastonbury is the heart chakra of the world, and a very special mystical place. Um, we were in south of France following the Magdalene footpath. And come this end of September and first week of October, we head out to Egypt. So I'll talk a little bit about that at the very end. So quite a full life, and challenging and exciting and different, and all of that rolled into one. So now that I've introduced myself, I would like to introduce you to toning. And so toning, it's something I've been doing for a super long time. It's frequency that's filled with light particles. And I know we don't ever think about it in that way when we're doing it because we all do it. But I'm going to just tell you what light particles are. They're electromagnetic waves, and they're particles which are called photonic particles, and they're invisible. So we don't see them. We don't know they're there. We don't pay attention to them. But our vocal sounds are a part of these waves that are in existence. And our vocal sounds can actually facilitate healing. And they also bring in the enlightenment process. So this is why I thought this would be a fun subject to talk about tonight. It resonates, toning, with our physical and our energetic bodies. So on all levels of our self. And what's interesting is it's been used widely through many ancient cultures. You can go back into so many different cultures and you find this exists somewhere within that, within those cultures. So I think, there's a lot of that. Actually, many years ago when I met my husband, I met him in New York State. And we were at a conference with oh my gosh, it must have been about 10 different shamans from around the world, which was super fascinating to be with them. It was called the Gathering of Shamans, and it was held at Omega in Rhinebeck, New York. And what was interesting is to sit and listen to them. Now, they did not know each other, right? You had the Mongolian shamans, you had people from Ecuador, all around the world, right? And they all came together. What was so interesting is that their message had so much similarity to each other. And so these ancient cultures, they carry these messages and the toning and sounds. They realize that this is it's the way of healing, it's the way of expressing, and so much more. And so it is widely used. And today we're integrating it into our spiritual practices. And this goes throughout the world also. So research shows that voice is the most powerful sound healing instrument. If you can believe that, you have at your fingertips, I might say, you have this. This is something to be used all the time. But I think people are uncomfortable with it, And so I'm hoping we dispel a little bit of that today. And I think this is a good place because if we were all together gathered in one place, some people might be a little unreceptive, or a little shy to share. So everybody can mute here. You can make as much noise as you want, and nobody's going to know, but you're going to know. So it's one of, vocal toning is one of the easiest and most effective therapeutic tools. And we don't really realize this, but I'm hoping we're going to see a little bit of this. So here's the funny thing. It's free, right? You're fully mobile with it. You can do it anywhere, anytime, right? And that's what makes it so super good is that it's just there for you. So how do we do this? Well, everybody does it every single day. We do it unconsciously. We use our voice for toning. So when you sigh, or a hum, it can have a healing effect. It really can. Sighing is a release of an emotion, or what maybe you're holding some kind of energy in there. Or maybe it's just more relaxation. You're letting your body relax. But it is a healing effect. And we do it so unconsciously, we don't even realize this, that this is happening. So most people think that they have to be able to sing to be able to tone. But that's so not right. So I want to tell you a really fun little story that happened to me um, some time ago. Like I mentioned, I was up on Blind Frog Ranch in Utah, and we had done a shamanic journey. And when I was finished, we kind of dispersed and we went our separate directions up on the land for a while, kind of to absorb a little. And what happened was I just went up the hill to do some toning, just kind of get myself. Toning is a way of centering also. You like bring in your energies and it just comes into the center of you. And so I just began with my eyes closed and I was just toning. And we're going to do this in a few minutes. And what was interesting was that there were some extraterrestrials there and they uncloaked themselves. And what that means is they made themselves visible to me. And this little gold being, about 3.5 feet tall, okay, came up to me about a couple feet away, not far. And I wasn't nervous or anything. I was just quite taken back a little by this whole happening, right? Because I wasn't expecting that. And I could see the ship up in the sky, and I could see a beam of light where the beings would come down through this beam and into the earth of whatever they were doing, they were extracting there. And then they would go back up. This being came over to me, very, very friendly. I had no concern whatsoever. But like I said, I was not expecting it. And it heard in me. I must have spoken to it telepathically, didn't realize it. And it answered me, but I didn't even know I asked a question. And it said to me, it tipped its head a little bit and it said, we are as curious about you as you are about us. And I was just really blown away by that. And there was a little more dialogue, and I've spoken again a couple months after that with it, but and that'll be maybe another talk sometime. But what I want to express is that the magic that can happen in toning, it's an amazing thing. And so much the way we pray or we meditate or any of those daily things, brush our teeth, whatever it is, if you tone for just a few moments, you're going to begin to see a different feeling rise in you. But you've got to be really in it. You're just not going to blare it out. You're going to really focus and bring it in. So one way of toning is singing. And singing is actually breath work. And we've all sung a tune. I mean, whether you do it in the shower or you do it in the car, I catch people when I'm driving. I see people singing to the music and whatnot. I sing. My husband says, oh, I can tell my wife's in a really good mood when she sings. So, there's just something about it, right? So singing is breath work and breathing is sound healing. So we do it all the time. We're breathing all the time. It's sound healing, actually. And like I said, it can be a release when we go, a sigh or something. And sound healing is not just about something that's audible in frequency, but it's invisible. And it works with the frequency of the rhythms of our body within our body. And the breath is the most fundamental rhythm that exists, and it can reduce stress. So toning is one way that is healthy for us. It's healing and it reduces stress. But like I said, singing and breathing is a form also. So the pulse, the rhythm of Mother Earth is also another aspect that can reduce, because we can get sort of in sync and in tune with that. Like if you've ever been to the beach and you burrow your feet in the sand. Why do people burrow their feet in the sand? They think it's because, it feels good. But of course it feels good, because you are now connecting with Mother Earth. Or when you just take your shoes off and walk on the ground, there's a different feeling. We wear shoes, and on the bottom of our shoes is plastic, right? So you're not receiving the signals as much. But long ago, they had leather on the bottom of their shoes. It's a natural substance that allows the energies to come through. And more specifically, the pulse and the rhythm of Mother Earth. And we may not even be aware of it, but it's happening. It's in the invisibility that we can't see. When you lean up against a tree, if you've ever done that, and that is just, for me, I love that. And I'm sure many of you have done that also, leaned up against a tree. You receive this energy. It's reciprocal. It's a give and take. You feel it. It just feels good to lean up against a tree, or maybe you're, doing something with a plant or a bush, but there's that live being, that live energy that is an interaction. Or when you go om or each one sends a different signal. So it's well known that when you're extending your exhale longer than the inhale, you slow down the heart rate and it calms the nervous system. So this is another reason that toning is good. When we sing or we tone or we hum, we're extending the length of that sound, which is extending the exhale. So this is very cathartic for us, So why is singing breath work? It's taking it to the next level with the sound of your voice. And your body, believe it or not, all that's in there going on loves the sound of your own voice. And I know people that love the sound of their own voice, but we do. We love the sound of our voice. And so toning is a really good way to be expressive of this. So this is why it's so beneficial. And so I'd like to just give this a whirl right now, if we could. And let's do this, okay? So everybody, get really in a nice, comfortable place, real calm. And I just want to welcome Jude. Thank you for showing up and being with us. We're just getting started. We're going to do some toning. And so to tone, you're going to just close your eyes. Get yourself here, present in this very moment. There's nothing else to be concerned about at this moment. You're just right here. And you're just going to take a breath in and out, just like a normal rhythm of how you breathe, okay? And you're going to breathe in, and then on an exhale, don't do it yet, on an exhale, you're going to go, ah. Okay, so I'm just going to show you once, okay? So it's a deep inhale so that you have a lot of breath. And you're going to probably need some water after. I've got my water glass right there. So like this. And stretch that exhale out as long as you can. And there's this subtle difference. When you get in the vibe of toning, it's going to almost shift from this into this. And you're going to be aware of it. No one else will, but you're going to be aware of the subtle shift that occurs. And it's going to be a little bit of a different vibe, and you can feel it. So take in a deep breath, and then on the exhale out, just let the noise come out. Don't push too hard. Don't do anything. Just it out of you as long as you can. And then you may want to take a breath in and out, and then take another deep breath in, and then exhale it out as long as you can. Nobody's listening. Do it however that feels comfortable for you. So we're going to do this. I want to give us a good 4 minutes maybe just to do this. You're going to notice over a little bit of that time, it's going to shift just ever so slightly. You're going to get into this. You'll be able, as you take the deeper breath in, you're going to be able to exhale longer. You're going to increase your lung capacity by doing it also. This is some of the exercise that professional singers go through also so that they can extend their voice too. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to check in, but I'm going to say, let's do this for 4 minutes. Okay. Now, 4 minutes on breathing, like that's, long enough. Okay. To check everybody. Okay. And don't pass out. Don't, because you could pass out. All right. So take a nice breath in between if need be. All right. Let's do this. Okay. All right. Go for it. Keep going. And as you're doing this, watch where your mind goes. Watch what reaction your body has. Feel those little spots in your physical and see what happens to them. Are you relaxing more? With each breath, are you exhaling longer? And if you're not, that's okay. There is no judgment to this. This is just as it is. Keep going, keep going, keep doing it. You're doing good. You're doing good. So what happens? You may get a little tired. So it's good to breathe in between. You might even feel a little lightheaded because you've been exhaling and you're letting out all the air in your lungs. So what I like you to do now is just breathe normal. Just breathe in normal in your rhythm. I'm going to have a sip of water. It's very helpful. If you need to get up, get a glass of water. That's good too, because it can make you thirsty. And so I'll give you a moment to just kind of get your breathing in, your own rhythmic breathing. And then I'd like to come back and I'd like to see if anybody has a comment to share about that experience. You can unmute yourself and please share with us what you experienced or didn't experience, or what your thoughts were about it. Liked it, didn't like it, whatever it is. Just if anybody would like to share, I'd like to hear from you and see what you feel about it. And is it something that you would like to continue to do? Come on, don't be shy. Okay, everybody's shy. Nobody wants to talk. Okay. Well, Jude, yes, there will be. Oh, okay, let me just let her know that they're, oh, she's gone. Okay. Okay, I need to unmute you. Okay. Thank you. Oh, unmute. Let's see it. Okay. And I'm just trying to unmute everybody. Okay, there we go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, sorry, I didn't have the right button on. I love technology.
Good.
I
Good.
can share. I can
Okay,
share.
go ahead, Jim.
So I experienced a much longer exhale, and
Oh,
at some point, it seemed like uh, that my body was releasing more. It was not a more of a conscious thing. It was like it kind of like for maybe a tenth of a second, it was like almost automatic, and I could go for maybe I don't know, maybe a couple more seconds, but then I ran out of breath. So it was
okay.
interesting. I
Good.
enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it. Okay,
Yeah.
super good. Do you think it's something you might continue with?
Well, I'll do that with a light language because I chant with light language too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, good
thank you.
combination together. Yeah, excellent. Excellent. Good to hear from you, Jim. Thanks. Anyone else want to say? Harris,
Sure. Yeah. Hi.
welcome. Hi.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, likewise. Very, very nice to see you. Needless to say, it was interesting when I first started. It was like I don't know, like working out or something. It was like getting warmed up. So it was a little touch and go as I started, but then a little bit like Jim said, further he went, kind of the deeper he could go, the longer it would last, the more normal, and then a little bit trance-like, but not quite.
Mm.
Um, and then it was just kind of rhythmic there at the end, more expansive inside. Certainly healthy, and certainly something I could continue doing later, but feel weird doing it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think, anything can feel weird, right? What's weird?
Yes.
Weird is out of our comfort zone, right? So
It
to
is.
get in the comfort zone, sometimes a little practice or a little doing it takes us, into that comfort zone because we're more used to doing it, right? So, yeah, you'll see if you can fit that in and see how that feels for you. And, you know, for a few minutes a day, and then maybe you'll want to do it twice a day, or maybe a little longer once every so often. Just work with it, see what comes for you, what it does for you. I know even on days when I'm not having a great day or I might be bothered, upset about something, I don't have to think about anything. There's nothing I have to do but just sit and tone, and it brings me in. And then I just watch everything. And it's a really good experience. So that's why I really wanted to share it with everyone. So, all right. Now that we've done our toning, let's move on and let's talk about activation and DNA. Okay, so this is one of my most favorite subjects, DNA and activation. And you know, it's interesting. Our being is a finely tuned system of coded information, and that's not something we think about all the time. We're just doing and being and all of that, and thinking and feeling, but we don't really think of ourselves as just coded information, right? We're just a conglomerate of that. And we're like the computer, right? But in a different way. But just like the computer's got information, and it's coded information, right? And it's constantly sending signals. You have to prompt it, but it sends signals. We send signals, and the signals communicate within us also. And I really can't talk about spiritual activation without talking about DNA. They kind of go hand in hand in my book, so to speak, because activation happens in energy fields and DNA. That's where it happens. And so DNA, our DNA, is like an antenna. It sends and it receives information, and it holds everything about us and everything about what it receives for us is held in our DNA. Now, you know, when I talk about this, I want you to understand there's two kinds of DNA. And some people may just be talking about DNA, but to be clear, there's two types. You have your biological DNA and you have your spiritual DNA. But you can't really separate the two because they intersect and they interact with each other. And both are an organized collection of data stored and managed through our interactions. And they communicate what we do with our experiences, you know, what's happening in our experiences, our knowledge, and our illusions. It's all in there, and it's all stored in us. And we're constantly sending out these signals and receiving signals, even though we don't know it. So, you know, if you haven't noticed, there's a lot going on in the invisible realm that's happening that we have no idea or do not pay attention to, right? So I mentioned there's two types of DNA. The biological. The biological has markers, which are a sequence with a known physical location on a particular chromosome. And it's linked, inherited diseases with the responsible gene for that particular disease. So that's our biological. Our spiritual DNA, and I might just back up because scientists know, we all know, there are two strands of biological DNA, but scientists now know that there are children that are being born with 3 and possibly even 4. And I get this direct from the scientist that I'm working with in Boston. I'll talk a little bit about him later. So, but we also know that they move in a certain way. And our spiritual DNA runs along the outside of our biological DNA. And our spiritual DNA interrelates with the soul, with our guides, with our high self, with everything that is really energy in the unseen and the seen, but a lot with the unseen. And it depends on the level that you operate at, how aware and how mature your soul is, how you're, where you're going to be with your spiritual DNA. So it activates through, remember I said it's a receptor and a transmitter. So it activates through words, sound, pictures in the mind, if you're picturing something, sacred geometry, and through light particles. And like I said, light is coded with information, and it's received through the other 5 chakras. So we know about the 7 chakras, right? The root all the way up to the crown. But then there is something, what we call the 0 chakra, and it's about a foot below the 1st chakra, the root chakra, and it goes, or I'm sorry, below our feet, and it goes into and connects to Mother Earth, and it is known as the Earth Star. So that's why I say, like, when we put our feet in the dirt or we lean up against a tree, we're receiving these impulsive energies through our 0 chakra. And then we have the 8th chakra, which is about a foot above, and that's the soul star chakra. Then there's the 9th, which is the stellar gateway chakra, the 10th, which is the universal gateway, and the 11th, the divine gateway. And I'm going to do a whole class on this coming up, so I don't really want to take the time to talk individually about those. But you are receiving information through all of these, and they each have a function and who they connect with, these particular energies around us. You know, we think chakra up and down, but it's around us. So so the main thing here to understand, your job is to surrender, to let go, to allow yourself to receive without any judgment. And judgment can be like, am I making this up? You know, when you're receiving information from the unseen realms, we'll call it, through your intuition or whatever it is that you're receiving. It's your job to just accept it in. It's your job to feel worthy of this. This is a natural ability that you have lifetime after lifetime. This is a part of who you really are. To allow the intellect, your intellectual part of you, to take a big step back and be quiet. You know, it's the chatter of the mind, so to speak. It's always talking, right? Although when we go to sleep, it does take a step back and let the subconscious come up, and that's where the dreams come from. It's your job to infuse and interact with your Ka body meaning your high self energy, part of your spirit. And that's another subject also that I will touch upon in another class. But to connect with this, it's your job to allow the energy and the light downloads of information, which will activate your dormant spiritual DNA, which then can interact with your biological DNA. So if you shift something, and shift by shift with an F, I mean a change of perspective. That's what a shift is. It's a change of perspective. That's all. And not to make light of that, that's really what it is. We're constantly shifting our perspective. And so this light that comes in, this energy, these downloads that we receive through our spiritual DNA, they activate what is already with us. It's not something new that we add on somewhere. We already have this, but it activates dormancy. So it switches the light on. It turns the light on and it allows the divine who you are to come into play, for you to know this aspect of yourself. And this happens, your divinity happens because it's your original blueprint. It's where you were formed when you left source, as we're all, like, if I can encapsulate this is source, okay? Hate to put them in a box or it in a box, but okay, this is source. And it's all this light that comes out are the individual parts of source that become us. And now this is your original blueprint, okay? And through experiences, some of that gets what we'll call dumbed down. It's not active. And so to activate it, we have to shift some things so that that light can get turned on. And what gets turned on is our access to our original blueprint, who we really are, our divine nature. And when I say divine, the divine of source, your unique you. And if I can just tell you, we all are a magnificent soul, each one of us. Believe it or not, we can even say that about an axe murderer. And when I say that, it's because the axe murderer has a divine blueprint, just is not accessing it or doesn't know it, and so has to go through the learning process, as we all have, and as all the guides on the other side of the veil. Well, okay, let me take that back. The Angelics have not gone through it, and there are certain others that have not, but most guides, and that's a very particular subject that maybe talk about another time, but without getting into this, if you can really understand, most of us have guides that have been through what we have been through. They've experienced this. That's why they're called guides, because now they're in a position to share what they know to help us along the way. So it's funny, we went whitewater rafting some years ago, my family and myself, and I think there were maybe about 9 or 10 of us in this raft, right? And we had this guide, okay, taking us, and he named himself the Fonz. He's quite a character. And this was so impactful for me. He posed this question to all of us, right? We're kind of drifting down the river. We hadn't hit anything really yet, but we could see the squall in the water coming, you know it's coming, right? And he says, okay, this is your moment of truth. He says, do you want to go in it and go for the ride of your life, or do you want to go around it? You can do either. And of course, we, being who we are, the family, yeah, we want to go through it. Okay, well, we did. We actually made it on the cover of their magazine that year because we were literally about like this, tipped down in the water, all the water coming up. And guess who was the anchor at the bottom? Me and my husband. Or my husband and I. So we're down at the bottom, all this water is rushing up, but we did. We had the time of our life, and life is like this, It teaches you, but it also offers that opportunity for you to know who you are, So I'll share another really, I think, very cool experience. And this experience is about knowing your divine self. And I was in Peru, in Aramu, Meru, which is close to the border. It's outside of Lake Titicaca. And we had done the Machu Picchu and the whole thing. But we were taken to this special place. And first we went to one place, one cave-like opening. And in South America, they use the coca leaves and they ask for blessings. And in 3 coca leaves, you hold them together and you ask for blessings or in your intention to Mother Earth. And so we were over in this one spot, a big line of people for our retreat. And we were all asking something one at a time. And it was my turn. What came to my mind was love and light. That's what I could think of. That was my intention and what I desired. Okay. I don't know what anybody else asked, but that was mine. So we left there and then we went up to this other rock formation. Huge, huge, huge rock formation. I don't even know how many. Gosh, it had to be 2 yards, maybe. No, I don't know how. No, more than that. Sorry. I'm thinking football field. Yeah. Okay. That long. It was huge. And so there were 3 doorways, and you go to one doorway, then you go to another doorway. And in the middle is this very odd, not rectangular, a little bit slimmer than the rectangle, with a little curvature, like where your third eye would go. And you stand in this little doorway. It's not very thick, but you stand kind of into it. I did the first doorway. The second doorway, I could feel myself dematerializing. It was the most oddest experience I've ever had in my life. I physically felt it, like I was just dematerializing, you know, like on Star Trek, how they actually talk about that, like, beam me up, Scotty. That's what I was feeling. And then I went to the third doorway. I'm standing in this doorway, and suddenly the doorway of solid, thick stone opens up in front of me, and 3 light beings show up in front of me and asked me if I would like to go with them. And I answered no. I said I had things that I felt I was here for on Earth and that I wanted to accomplish. I had more work to do. And they graciously accepted that answer. And today I might think differently, but back then, anyway. So my point is that when I left, when I was finished standing there and giving somebody else another chance, I went off on the side to sit on a rock. And this overwhelming experience of energy came through me. And it was like my own, I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm going to tell you, it was my divine self coming up in me. It was expressing the magnificence of my divine soul came up and allowed me to feel who I really am. There are no words that describe it. I can't find any words that do it justice. That's how magnificent it was. And I don't use that word lightly. It's an amazing experience to know who we are. And that's what we're doing. We're working at our knowing who we are. And so light activates these things inside of us, this light. And so, okay. So what is divine activation? It is that it meets you at your soul's level. And that means where everybody is in their growth of their soul, the maturity of their soul, it's going to meet you at that level. And we're all at different, and I hate to use the word level, but you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say that. Wherever we are, that's where it meets us at. In other words, it's not gonna, you know, it's like if I could put it in a classroom, if you're in first grade or you're in 10th grade, it's going to meet you where you are. So what does it do for us? So I'm going to tell you what it does for us. The activation opens our spiritual DNA and it illuminates dormant strands of energy. Like I said, it accelerates personal growth. It improves health and helps to release block energy. It raises our intuition. It aligns us with full potential and harnesses the power of our positive emotions so that we're not, you know, feeling the negative all the time. It creates positive changes in our lives then, right? And and it increases confidence, fulfilling relationships, and it manifests where we can manifest faster and different than the way we're accustomed to. It activates the highest quality of our divine DNA. It transforms our body and our energy fields so that we can accept the ascension codes and source light. It raises consciousness to resonate with pure ascension timelines. Positive emotions such as gratitude, happiness, love, they have the power to activate and to unwind our spiritual DNA. And negative emotions decompresses our DNA, and they, like fear and anger, they contract it. And what I'm understanding in hearing about DNA is that it's the way it moves. Everything is in constant motion all through the universe, but within us also, and including our DNA. And I'm going to talk about DNA much more specifically and codes in another class, because there's so much to know about this, and it's fascinating to understand it, so we understand ourselves a little bit better and what to do in order to gain what it is that we really want to achieve. It offers and helps us gain access into vast information and knowledge, and connects us to the mind of everything else. And we become more aware of our multidimensionality. And so multidimensionality are different dimensions that cross paths of other times. There are other times and experiences that are going on sort of simultaneously and intersecting. And so this also opens us up to our talents and our aspirations that are held within us that we need to access. So I'm just going to stop for a moment and ask if there's any questions at this point. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And if not, I just can keep going because we do want to do an activation too. So, okay, no questions. All right, good. All right, so let's talk about deactivation here for a moment. So spiritual DNA speaks more about our existence than our biological DNA. And the more we activate and realize that we must deactivate. And so those programs are codes that are running, just like the computer. And if you've ever had something that isn't working or that you need to upgrade, okay, you know, there's certain things that have to be done with the computer. So some of our old programming, in fact, a lot of it has glitches, and it's being stored just like the computer. It's stored in our spiritual DNA, also our biological DNA, you know, with genetics and such. But in our spiritual, it can come. It comes from our past lives, which is influencing our present time today. It can come from other timelines, which are going on simultaneously, where you are in another timeline that you are not aware of. Although there are some people that are aware, they get snippets of where they are in another time simultaneously. So, and that's a bilocation, like I spoke about before. And all of this influences your present time. Other timelines can be where you're in another planetary system. You may not be on Earth. You could be on Earth in another place. I've had, oh my gosh, I don't know how many times throughout my life people have said to me, I feel like I know you, and I've often wondered if what they mean is, do they know me from somewhere else going on at another time, or maybe even on Earth somewhere? Our spiritual DNA is communicating in our physiological and our animal brain, the old codes that are running over and over and over, and in our energy field. And in this place, this is where we set up our judgment and our fears and our survival issues. And our animal brain is the occipital part in the back of your head. This is where the old programming is running from. It's being stored there. And we all have it. We've all experienced it for a very long time. In fact, scientists understand that there are genes within our biological makeup that are running from thousands of years ago. And I'll tell you what one of them is. It's how we store fat in our system. And this fat is this particular genetic coding in the genome is been carried through because, well, it was set up because when we would go out and hunt or forage for food, or when we couldn't get food, maybe even during the Depression time where food was hard to come by, multi lifetimes over thousands of years, okay? This is still running. And so this is part of the culprit of what's going on in our biology, but we also have this spiritually too. So an example is where we might have had in another timeline, or another timeline where we might have experienced maybe changes to the planet where we were, or to the species. Something may have happened and it created a trauma, which then got set up in hell in that part of us. Most of us have experienced either Lemuria or Atlantis, had a time there. And they went through their own extinctions in a sort of way. Let's see. Many people have had deja vu and memories of other happenings also. So we're here at this time, and we're learning how to up-level our spiritual DNA and to transmute for our ascension. And not all of us are going to transmute all 12 of our spiritual DNA. Some may only come to 6, some may come to 9, some may only come to 3. There's no judgment in this whatsoever. It's all about how much you can receive, make the change, what you're destined, what your blueprint, what your destiny reads to come in to accomplish. And even with that, and I talk more about this in a class that I do about past lives and between lives, soul regression, talk about the soul, but the understanding that we are not always going to come in and achieve. There have been lifetimes we set something in our contract and didn't achieve it. And then there are times where we've achieved beyond. And this is true for everyone. So this up-leveling, there's no judgment to it. We just do. We go about, we feel the sync of life. We're synced in with life. We're doing, and that's it, we're being. So awakening, I want to talk about just a little bit of an understanding here. So people talk about awakening, and awakening is the disidentification with the ego. So the more we do not identify with our ego, the illusions that are in there, the judgments, the more we wake up. And ascension is our spiritual, physical, energetic, conscious evolution into a higher form. It's learning this through moving into densities and dimensions. And this is how we do it. So this is what we're all working toward, ascension. Although there may be those that either don't realize it or that they're not interested in it. And that's okay too. So, activating our DNA. Activation is everything. It's the key. And energy must be activated to create the intended energy. Now, how do I know this? And maybe you've even heard of this, but I know this to be a fact. And when I say this, it's because I'm working, like I mentioned, with a scientist, Dr. Glenn Rain. You can look him up on the internet. He's a scientist, a quantum biologist that studies subtle energies. And subtle energies are energies that are not seen, able to be seen. And so we're working, researching, we're quantifying through research and equipment that does this, that through the equipment we can prove this, how much energy is being received into our DNA. And my part in this is that I receive information and I transfer it into DNA that has had the proteins and the enzymes and everything extracted from it so that it's just DNA and nothing else. And so because I can see and I can experience this, I know how to activate something. Okay, now I'm going to explain this. So I'll give you an example, and you're going to experience this in a few minutes. So I have some codes that have been written on a paper. And when I say codes, they just look like a bunch of what we would consider squiggles, gibberish, you know, there's no words in it. It's just some codes. And we did this research where we put the DNA, the vial of DNA, on the words, and we just let it sit there for 1 hour. And then we took it off, and Glenn put it into his equipment and looked at what information what we were extracting. And the energy that came out of these words into the DNA was almost nil. There was no energy, right? There was nothing to it. Then when I activated these codes and I transferred it into the DNA, these codes transferred, and then Glenn took and put it in the information into his equipment, and it came up with how much energy was going into this DNA. And it came in at 142%. Now, I'm going to tell you, Glenn has been working a long time as a scientist. He's older than I am and has been a scientist for a very long time. He works with a lot of scientists, and he's worked with many healers, crystals, you name it, med beds. I mean, all kinds of things that transfer energy, right? He said to date, nothing has brought in higher energy amount than these codes. Now, I'll tell you, these codes are a compilation of several star groups that have come, and they put it together. So the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, those from Sirius, Andromedans. I know I'm missing one. Could be, I can't remember. It was the Lyrans. I forget. But I'm pretty sure this was the group. And they put this together. And this was written. And so by activating this activation is what opened the energy for the light to come in into the DNA. So to deactivate, we have to disengage the old codes. And the reason we have pain and we have suffering and the experiences, the negative experience, are to, in order to accept, or we need to disengage in order to accept the energy of the higher frequencies of the light and the activations. So it depends. And I've learned this both personally and professionally through my channeling and working with clients, working in the Akashic records, soul regression, being in sacred places, that you have to disengage, you have to deactivate this energy so that you can allow the light to illuminate into the spiritual DNA. So I'm going to be talking more about this, like I said, in a future class. And so without getting too heady about it, let's do some activation, okay? So what I want to talk about for a moment before I actually activate is that, first of all, remember I talked about we shouldn't judge anything. When I do regression, people often say to me, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go in. Well, that's a judgment, okay? So that's fear coming, like, and the worst thing we can do is just not trust something that's coming. So it's what I consider, or what I tell people, it's conscious imagination then, okay? Call it what you want. Just allow it to be and show you what it needs to show you. And if it shows nothing, it doesn't mean that it's not. It just means it's got to run through your intellectual filters. And that is not always an easy thing, especially if you're not practiced in it. So for some people, that's more difficult than others, I'm saying. So what I'm asking is not to judge this activation. So when we're finished, and I'm going to do this deep meditation with this activation included in it, okay? So I'm going to walk you through a process like a meditation, like a guided meditation. And you may be a person that sees, and maybe you can't see it. Just move with it. Don't question, okay? And when we get to the part, there may be some silence. There might be some light language. I don't know how the activation will come through. I'm never quite certain. It's always different. That's up to the light that's coming in, okay? But just allow it to come. Don't question it. Don't say to yourself, I'm not getting anything. Don't do any of that, okay? Just be with it, okay? All right. So I'm going to ask everybody to just get real comfortable, okay? Get in a chair, lay down. It doesn't matter. Just don't go to sleep, okay? Just get comfortable, all right? All right. And I don't know how long it'll be. I haven't run through how many minutes this is, and we're just going to move with it and be in sync with the flow of it. And then what I'd like to do is just open it up a little bit at the end for any comments that anybody has, okay? But you don't have to if you don't want to, okay? So, or you could write a comment, which would be good also. Okay. So I'm going to ask everybody to get where you're going to get to sit and be comfortable. Okay? So get to that place where that is. I'm going to have a little drink of water. Okay, I see Holly's still moving around there. I can't hear you, Holly. If you're having trouble. Okay. I think she's going somewhere else. Okay. So, okay, I got a thumbs up. Good deal. All right. Okay. So, what I'm going to ask for everybody to do is just close your eyes. It's better to have your eyes closed so that you can kind of get lost in that. Allow yourself just to go. We're going to come into some lower brainwave frequencies and just take in at your pace a couple of good deep breaths in and out. And you want to take a deep breath in, you want to exhale it out. And then you want to take another breath in and exhale it out. And just allow yourself to become present by observing your breath as it goes in and out, and becoming more and more relaxed and present in this now moment. And continue observing your breath until you hear the gentle sound of your breath. Focus on your breath. And imagine at the top of your head, you see or feel or know a golden white sphere of light. This is where conscious imagination comes in. As it floats above your crown, and imagine it coming down through your own crown into your head. Feel its warmth and love. Feel that. Allow yourself to feel that, to experience it. It feels warm and love. And down your head, and then now it moves into your throat. And then down into your shoulders. And then into your upper chest. All the way to your heart. As this illuminates, you feel the warmth as it makes its way to your heart. You feel this beautiful energy as it's vibrating. It's a high energy of love, of compassion, forgiveness, of kindness, and oneness. Breathe in this love. Breathe it in. Take it into all of you. And exhale all that is in the way of receiving this love. So whatever is in the way, just let it go. Exhale it out. You don't have to do anything but just exhale and intend for it to leave. And now see this golden white sphere of light and love as it continues down your body. And then it makes its way down into your stomach, surrounding now your elbows and your arms, and down to the tips of your fingers. You can feel that warmth as it moves throughout these areas. And then it moves down into your pelvis, this warmth. And feel this warmth as it's relaxing every muscle And you intend it to reach every cell in your body, going down further into your thighs, and then into your knees and your calves, your ankles, and all the way down into your feet to the tips of your toes. Now feel your entire body and every cell and atom vibrating with love, compassion, forgiveness, kindness, and oneness. Now feel the sphere of light as it moves back up your entire body and it rests in your heart. And feel yourself vibrating at this frequency. And the entire electromagnetic field expanding out further, filling the entire space where you are right now. See before you the space that vibrates higher. And if you don't see it, just know it's there. It's vibrating higher because you intended, and so it is. See it begin to open a little portal door where you sense something magnificent deep beyond the opening. And again, if you don't see it, that's all right. Just intend and know it's there. Now you feel this vibration as it's deep within your heart and within every cell and atom of your body. And what it does is it lights up your heart with all of your desire. Your desires are in your heart. And it's lighting up because this energy is there to activate it through a little portal. And you know there's beautiful joy. And this joy, it feels natural. You know that you deserve this joy in your heart. You feel everything you desire coming to you as you are magnetic. And you can see it or feel it coming through this portal opening. Just know it's there, making its way through. And now know your energy body, you may see it rising above your physical body. You may see it or know it lifting above as it makes its way through this portal opening. And walking into a magnificent sphere that completely fills you with love. The sphere is all love. That's what the energy is. And this is a memory that you have stored, that this is opening inside of you. And you remember this. So I want you to spend the next just few moments feeling this energy as it completely runs through your body, your energy body. There's no rush here. This present moment that we're in is all you are experiencing right now. And I want you to rest in this beautiful light energy while you're experiencing this. And so while you're here, I'm going to send codes to you, to your energy field. And I want you to pay attention to what you're experiencing. What does it open up for you? What is your experience like as it makes its way to you in your energy field? Through this portal of love. These codes activate and send signals through these particles and connect to your particles at the deepest levels of your existence. These codes illuminate and allow you to know who you are at all times. They share this information and awaken you so that you may know your true self. They are activated so that you may hear and feel and see in a different way, that you may rise above your illusions, that you may experience the life that you are intended to, and that you may share this light amongst others, as that is considered the oneness. The true experience of existence. Deactivating the codes that keep us from knowing our true self. These have been given through a combination of efforts of the star beings that are here guiding us to our ascension through evolution. This light may run through your other existences to release that which is held and continues to play out in a certain field of your energy. See this light as it enters into you through your heart through your third eye, the portals into the soul. As it wakes up, helps you come alive to know yourself, your true self. These words are light. They are sound. They are particles that communicate with your light, with your energy. Much the way the phone communication works. But you must pick up the receiver to answer and to hear, listen, and to be aware, to consciously awaken, to receive the light. This light and information has much to share with you. It is a vessel to open and be received, to clear your mind, to deactivate the old programming, and to share a new understanding, a new vision, a new way of being. May this be received in all aspects of each of you. Know that your heart has been profoundly touched as your desires and wishes and the shift of your perspective comes through. And your energy body makes its way back to the physical body. As you merge together, you sense a renewal of your heart opening toward your desires and wishes, and more of your true divine self. Now make a decision or an intention to keep this portal open. A conscious intention to carry this in your heart from this moment on. So when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into your body, into full consciousness. And when you are back, please let me know. It may take a little bit to come back, depends on how deep you went in. So just give yourself a few moments to come in. Maybe take a sip of water. Hydrating is excellent. And I might add, you want to hydrate. Reason being, as your body releases right down to the cells, you want to allow that to leave your system. And that's one of the best ways to do it. So I wonder, is there anyone that would like to share tonight? And please don't be shy. There's no judgment here. Just share a little snippet, something glorious that may have happened, whatever. Just don't be afraid. Share. Or you can write it. And I just want to make sure that you all can do it, because I did unmute. So I just want to make sure that you are all unmuted. Hey, Jim, can you unmute for a moment and let me know that you can unmute? No? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Love technology. Okay. Is it still a problem? Okay. Why am I having such difficulty with this? Okay. Now I can hear. That's so funny. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you speak? No, because Jane can. No, now she's gone. All right, let me see. Unmute themselves. Okay, see if you can do it now.
Yes, it's working.
Oh my goodness. It's not my favorite thing, technology, but it helps us along the way. Okay. Very good. All right. So Holly, want to share?
Sure. I've done lots of activations. That was pretty powerful. I felt at first I was like able to see like the different colors. Like I always see the violet flame, and then I saw the fuchsia, and it turned into a lotus flower when it was when the orb or the spear was down at our feet. And then I started to just like really feel that incredible love and light that I felt before when you talked about deactivating into the divinity. I've experienced that before. So it was like really powerful again. And all of a sudden my whole body just started like tingling, and then it started spiraling.
Beautiful. Wow, great experience. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was
Wonderful.
awesome. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you. And we want to give thanks to those that brought these codes that enable this, to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, light beings. Thanks, starseed.
Thanks for sharing. Jim, would you like to say?
Yeah, for me,
Turn it off. Turn yours off.
Oh, we got some echo or feedback there.
it's I went out of body, and then I came back as soon as you were doing the activation. And so I basically a surrender. I do not see things like this or whatever. It's just like but it was a very deep meditation, as I could feel it when I first started. I could really get into it.
Okay.
And so that to me was a good sign. But then I tended to just go out, and then I come back in. I came in just as you were doing the activation. So
Okay.
I wish I could see things like you did, like Holly. It'd be wonderful, but
Well,
I'm not there yet, so whatever. But I just take it in stride,
well, you might want to join us when we do the class. And actually, that's the first one coming up, with we're going to work on the clairs, and develop the clairs being, clairvoyance, clairaudience, so sentience, and so on and so forth. And just we're all good at least one, but some of us are more adept at others. And so those that we're not adept at, we want to, work on those a little bit. And everybody wants to see something, so that's just the way we are. We just want to see. So we're going to work a little bit on that. So you might want to join that class.
Yeah, I'm clairaudient. I mean, I can hear things, stuff
Sure.
like that. Very
Good.
much my higher self, but I
Good.
understand that. Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Still some shy ones. Okay. So, any questions? Is there any questions about something that I've said or something you may have seen? Anything you might want to ask a question about?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Go for it.
I am going to go for it. What I'm curious, so when you were talking about energy, etheric DNA, biological DNA, energy itself and our genetics, and then people like you and I, and probably some other folks here, encounter beings on other dimensions at times. And like you described your experience, it's almost like a veil is removed and then they let you see them. And then you saw these beings going up and down. So my question is what's going on from your perspective with our genetics, with energy? How is that working when like that veil is removed and we're looking right at them? What's going on with us genetically to allow that experience to happen? And then when that experience inevitably goes away, what's going on with us genetically?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Good question, though, because a lot of people wonder about that, I think. So what is happening is that now when you talk about beings, there are beings at other levels. And when we say other levels, other densities within dimensions, okay? And so what happens is in order to communicate with us, they must, I want to say, come into a lower dimension, okay? And we have to be able to raise up enough so that we can meet, so that we can have this experience, okay? And oftentimes, they're doing the lowering, and we may be raising our dimension, coming in, like I consider like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We teeter in for a little bit of time, and then we teeter right back out again, okay? Part of that has to do with gravity on planet Earth too, but that's another time subject that I could share information about. But what keeps us in our third dimension and is our intellect, our ego. We're here, we're talking, we're consciously speaking, okay? When we go into the lower brain waves, depending on who we are, how practiced we are, how mature our soul is, we've been around the block a few times, so to speak, depending on, even if you are an older soul, maybe you came back in a younger soul just to experience something else. So you're experiencing it in this kind of a soul understanding. Anyway, without getting off the beaten path, it's a meeting of the dimension where it can bridge close enough that they can speak to us and that we can detect and hear and be a part of what it is that they're bringing forward. They don't often remained at that level for too long because it's difficult. If you are a much lighter being, and I'm saying your consistency of light, so to speak, of a certain level, if that's where you live, and it's like trying to put on a corset or a girdle or something super tight, it's difficult to be in a lower frequency or a lower dimension. Okay, we're even finding that it's difficult at times to remain in this physical body because we're experiencing it the way we are, but we know we come out of it often enough that we don't really want to come back into it too often, but we're here. So we have to bridge this. And there are those of us that have this capacity to be able to bridge it, and those that don't have as much, but we are, learning. For me, I am, and others, part of it is that this is what I'm here doing. So this is my destiny. So I have to be able to do this. But like I said earlier on, when I introduced myself, I lost my memory. Along with memory, I lost some of my ego that held me in that place. And what opened up was I really had no choice but to learn how to use my intuition. As I learned that pathway or that gateway opened up so that I could shift into those frequencies where I could hear. And this is what's going on for people right now, but in different degrees, according to who they are, what you're doing here, what you're specific that you're here for. And again, and I don't know, people probably know this, but I'm just going to mention it in conjunction with what we're talking about, that there are on planet Earth right now, we know this is a big mega school, like this is a university of specifics, okay? The specific is huge range of emotions, huge things to learn, a lot of fighting going on between countries and timelines and all kinds of things going on, right? So it's a university of major study, right? Like full force. You didn't come here unless you were going to learn full force, right? Mm-hmm. You want to just do something real slow and easy. Well, this isn't the place for you, you go somewhere mm-hmm. else, but you made the choice, right? Okay, between lives before you incarnated. And so you come onto Earth, lots happening here. And what's going on here is even the young souls. And I'm going to talk about this in my past life class, which will be coming, because it's so interesting to understand about all this. It really, I think it's fascinating. So coming in on Earth, you've got to know that there's a lot of young souls, and they're like knocking on the door to get in here because there's a certain part of them that wants to learn quicker than if they went to the like slower, more easy planetary system to learn, right? So they come in and they're getting a quick lesson, so to speak, on, say, all of this, right? Intensive class. But they're still young souls. I call them the souls that are of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, okay? They're young souls. That's what they want, and people like this, right? Mm-hmm. So, but there are those of us that have been around the block a lot, wiser, older souls. And so we have this capacity to bridge this, where we can hear others, where we can see them, where they show themselves. They show themselves really easily, because you have the capacity to be at that level where they can show themselves, and because they desire, and if you call to them, because that's what they want you to engage their help, their guidance. They want to talk to you like that little gold being, and they were from some planet Says, I didn't even inquire, believe it or not. I didn't ask them who they were, where they came from, or anything. I was just, like just so intrigued by them, And what was really interesting is that they thought we were as interesting as they are, So that really, that says a lot that they are able to come enough to reach close enough where they can, but that they don't remain in that particular frequency of dimension for too long. Because again, it's like putting on that corset or girdle, or it's just like, it's not comfortable for them. Did that answer the question?
Completely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
just running it through my experiences, and it sounds, I bet everybody here's got a bunch of them. Now, the
Sure.
only thing I would add to it is, and I don't know if this is true for you or anybody else, is that whenever there's a dimensional shift like that and an experience with an encounter, there's a predecessory feeling associated with it. There's that energetic quality, and I can sometimes feel them before I can see them and experience them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's all. That's all.
Yeah, because that happens to be your more predominant clair. The clair, you know what I'm talking about, right? The clairs. Clairaudience, clairsentience, clair.
Cognizance, all of that jazz.
Right, all those clairs, yeah. So
Yes.
that's your sense that you utilize and are more capable in than others, but then the other kicks in soon after to make a clearer picture when it's necessary for you to see what you need to see, because sometimes it isn't necessary. Sometimes it's a whisper in your ear, spirit whispering, or maybe it is another being that's speaking to you, or a guide, and they don't always show themselves. It's not always a necessary thing. So it just depends on the particular circumstance that they show up visually, but not always. So, yeah. Anybody else have an experience they might like to share like that? No? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, what I'm going to do, I just want to share with you, I have another class coming up in a couple weeks, and it's building your intuitive and psychic abilities. So it kind of comes on the heels of this particular webinar. And I'll be sending out through a newsletter all about this. So you'll be able to receive it and take a look at it. And then with that, there are a lot of other upcoming classes, maybe not in the consecutive order that I've written them, but I'm looking forward to sharing whatever knowledge I have and really make this experiential for everyone. I think we're in a time now where it's really important to experience, where we're utilizing our experiences because we're understanding that this is a real capacity for learning. And so I want to help raise us into that level into our ascension. So, and then I might just share that I have an Egypt tour coming up, and that's the end of September into October. It's a 10-day tour. Partly why this came about is that I channeled the Sphinx, and she came to me a while ago. She started coming and talking to me, and it was quite different because I never thought of channeling the Sphinx. I was like, that's a really different thing. And I found myself inside of her. And actually what she said to me is that there's a doorway in, and that you can get inside. And she said, everything mankind needs to know is here in Egypt. And it's been there all along. It's just sort of like the Wizard of Oz, where, the good witch or someone says to Dorothy, it's been inside of you all along, Dorothy. Well, that's kind of how it is. It's there. It just needs to activate, and being in sacred places, magic happens. And when I say magic, it's not the kind the shell game or whatever, and then pick which shell it's under, it's real magic. And this happens a lot when I go away to places. The most amazing things happen. Like when we were in France, we were in a small town, and we met someone. This was not on the itinerary, but we just go with it the way life brings us. And we were invited to Nostradamus's house. And the man that invited us, he's a very special man. He is of the heritage and lineage of Nostradamus. I don't know how many times removed he is, but he's in the lineage, and he shares a lot of information about Nostradamus, and it's fascinating. And so he invited us back again for a 2-day workshop. He said, next time we come, allow for 2 days to come, because he really wants to share what Nostradamus shares. And I could feel it when we were in the house. I mean, it was such a surreal experience. You just know that Nostradamus is alive, and his information is there, and he's quite a fascinating man. So magic happens, and you just have to allow for it. And so I'm expecting in Egypt, magic will happen there too. So that's upcoming. And I just want to let you know that this has been recorded. And so you'll be able to, I'll be sending a letter out with the recording. So you'll be able to go back and go back and do the activation again. And I hope you will actually go through it a few times so that it can continue to activate and do what it's designed to do, and those that bring it for us forward. So any comments or questions, anything anybody would like to say? Jane?
Thank you.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
wonderful.
Thank you
Well,
all for
great.
being here. Appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much. And continue to allow your heart to shine and your beautiful, beautiful energy. We need to put it out there.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Namaste.
Have a blessed evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.